Hello friends, hope you are good. Welcome to YouTube channel of Interview Prepares. So in today's video, I am going to discuss about the perspective of UPSC interview or personality test basically. So in this video, I am not going to discuss about a new concept or any knowledge. What I am going to discuss about how you should approach the UPSC interview basically. So to just to give the name of this perspective, I have named it the competency perspective. So we'll discuss about what competency is in a little while. So let us just first discuss about how important the UPSC personality test is. So as all of you know that it is a final and crucial round. It makes up around 14% of the overall mains marks. So 275 marks of interview is very important. Your selection or rejection depends on how you perform in the interview. If you really do well in the interview, then obviously you not only get selected in the exam, but you also get the service of your preference. So I have seen many candidates who again and again appear for this exam, and every time they do not get the preferred service like IAS or IPS. So interview becomes very important if you want to get your preferred service. And I will also like to say that there are a panel of interview who judge a candidate. Normally 4 to 5 interviewers are there in an interview board, and what they are going to check basically, so they are going to check the fitment of a candidate for the civil service or the public service. So what is that fitment basically? So how will they check that fitment? So for example, there is a certain job which needs to be performed, and there are certain candidates, there's a series of candidates who are coming in for this interview. Now they'll see that which candidate is most suitable to perform that particular task, and to perform that particular task there are certain things which are required. These things are nothing but basically the competency. So I'm sure that most of you all have already heard about this word competency, but just to reiterate, the competency is nothing but underlying characteristics of an individual which can result in effective superior performance in a job or role. So any job needs to be performed, there are certain competencies which are required. For example, uh, the role of a scientist may be different from the role of a teacher. A role of a teacher may be different from a role of a bureaucrat or maybe a sportsman. To perform any job, there are certain natural abilities or maybe developed skills which are required, and these are basically the competencies. To perform a role of a bureaucrat or a civil servant, there are certain competencies which are required, and these are the competencies basically the interviewer may be looking for. You are also seeing the figure. This is the ice. This is an iceberg. Uh, I'm sure most of you have heard about this word iceberg. Iceberg is nothing but a sea mountain. So basically, in a sea, the majority part of the iceberg is below the water line. If you can already see that, so most of the part is submerged in the water, and a little bit part, around 20 to 30% part, is above the water line. So I'm sure you most of you have seen the movie Titanic. So this Titanic ship actually it collides with the iceberg, and that is how it breaks into two parts and finally sinks. So this iceberg, if you see in this iceberg, there are certain competencies which are above the iceberg, like skill and knowledge, and certain competencies which are below the water line. So there are certain competencies which are easily observable. For example, knowledge and skill. Just to give you an example, if somebody knows a language, say for example somebody has a proficiency in French language, then that is basically the knowledge of the language. So that is easily observable. Either you know it or you don't know it. Anybody can recite it, or anybody can speak in that language, and you know that whether person knows that language or not. And skill is something like, for example, the same person can type the letter in French, so that is a skill. Typing is a skill basically. So these are easily observable, but there are certain things which are not very easily observable, which cannot be seen just by asking and just by knowing the person. These competencies requires uh, more reflective discussions. It requires more understanding about the person, and these are the competencies actually which makes a real difference in somebody's output in a job. So these competencies, what you see is a self-image, trade, motives. So these motivations, these self-image of a person, actually they decide that how person performs in a particular job. So I would say these are the basic deeper competencies actually which a person actually, or which interviewers generally look in those candidates. So we'll discuss about these things. uh, Now let us discuss that what interviewers are looking for in a candidate. If you'll go by the UPSC notification, there are certain things which they have mentioned. Very 4 to 5 things they have said. So they've said that a personal suitability of the candidate for the career in public service. They talk about mental caliber of a candidate. They'll talk about social traits and his or her interest in the current affairs. Interestingly, they do not talk about the intellectual qualities, because these are the qualities which has already been judged in the prelims in the main written mains exams. So they will not focus on that. They will talk about the social traits. So when I say social traits, these are deeper things. What I was talking about in the competency slide, like self-motive, image, motivations. These are the things actually they try and judge, and your understanding of matter of general interest. So these are the things actually they'll try to see in a candidate. Now let us talk about UPSC also mentions certain competencies. These are the competencies which are very clearly mentioned in the UPSC notification. So you'll see these competencies: mental alertness, balance of judgment, variety and depth of interest, intellectual and moral integrity. So these are the competencies an interviewer is trying to look in a aspirant or in a candidate, that whether the person has these abilities or not. These competencies are important. One should understand the meaning of each and every word, that what these competencies is actually meant for. Now I'll not discuss about these competencies in detail. I may make a separate video for that. I'll talk about, just here I just want to tell you that these competencies are important, and I'll tell you that how these competencies result into job performance. Let us also see, I'm sure that many of you have already done a private job. So for any job there is a job description written. That is the tradition in a private job, and most of the government jobs also. So the job description mainly considers two parts. One is the roles and responsibility, and another is the qualification, the competencies. So here roles and responsibilities, many of us know that what civil servant are supposed to do. Qualifications, as you know, that it's a person needs a graduation to appear for this exam. I'll talk about the competency part. Okay, so before that I'll just discuss a little bit about the role and responsibility of a civil servant. So these are a very 4 to 5 very key responsibilities of a civil servant, because the role of a civil servant is very exhaustive. It cannot be jotted down in one piece of paper, or maybe in one slide it cannot be covered. So I've just given a brief about it. For example, maintaining law and order, implementation of central and state government policy, handling day-to-day government affairs, supervision of expenditure, natural calamities, responding to emergency situations. So these are the basic roles and responsibilities of civil servant. And out of these, to perform these roles and responsibilities, there are certain competencies which are required. And what if one can match those competencies, then if one can show that the aspirant has these competencies to perform these kind of a job, the interviewer would see that yeah, he is a right fit for civil or public service, because we could see that he is already into that level, that wherein he goes on the field and he can perform these important duties. So let us talk about what are the competencies which are required by the civil servant. uh, Here I am not talking about any competency which I might have self-discovered. These are the competencies which are in the government domain. It is there in the government website. It is there on the website of DOPT, Department of Personnel and Training. So I am just giving you the link. So if you download the competency dictionary of a civil service, of civil servant, of the civil service officers, you will find out that this document mentions so many competencies about which are required to perform their duties by a civil servant. So if I talk about these competencies has basically 4 pillars: ethos, ethics, equity, and efficiency. Out of these pillars, there are certain competencies which are there, which are mentioned, and these are the competencies one should actually understand. These competencies, if somebody knows, then they can apply these competencies in their answers. They can apply their competencies in their action. They can apply these competencies in their thought process. So one has to understand each and every competency very clearly. This document which I mentioned, I'll also give the link of this into description. If you download this paper, there are around 38 to 39 pages. First 13 pages are very important because it mentions, it describes about each and every competency. If you understand these competencies, they are going to help you in many ways. uh, for example, if I give you an example, if it is asked in the interview, it's a very general question. If it is asked that if you are a district collector in a district and there's a problem for malnutrition, how would you solve that? So if you want to answer this question, you have to just think about these four pillars, and if you want to think about these competencies, if you inculcate these competencies and these pillars in your answer will be holistic. It will be different from other candidates. This answer will show as if you are already a civil servant, you are already thinking like a civil servant. For example, they are talking about citizen centric and inclusiveness, promotes public good and long term interest of the nation. So now this malnutrition problem, you should think about citizen centeredness. You should demonstrate integrity, transparency, openness. You should be treating everyone alike. There should be a social justice concept into your head also. In efficiency also, there is no leakage. Your human capital is performing to the last mile. There's no leakage, there's no operational problem. So if you can, if you can put all these things into your answer becomes a civil servant kind of an answer, and that is the kind of answer interview may be expecting. So this is what I'm talking about. These are the competencies, these are the things you have to inculcate in your answer. So as I was saying, that if you start thinking about these competencies, if you start preparing your answer according to that, I'm sure it is going to help you. It is going to, whatever actions, whatever problem solutions you will find, it is going to be complete. You should also try inculcating these competencies into your personality. So this is how probably you will gradually move from an aspirant to an officer. So these are the things one should try and do to prepare better. Also, these are competencies, they are not only help you in the interview, they'll help you in the mains exams also. They'll help you in ethics paper 4 in GS. They'll help you in paper 2, general studies paper 2 in mains. They will also help you in some of the optionals. So these competencies, if you have in your mind and if you put these competencies in an answer, they are going to be very helpful. uh, Apart from this, I'm going to discuss a concept in a brief, uh, and which I think will help you in your preparation. So the concept of depth of knowledge, uh, some of you might have already heard about this concept. So this concept was given by Norman Webb. He was a behavioral scientist, and he gave this concept in 1990s. And if you go through UPSC notification in detail, you'll find that depth of knowledge word has been used in mains. They talk about what kind of answers they expect in mains, and they use this word depth of knowledge. In interview, they talk about depth of interest. So let us understand what this depth is. You need to understand about this depth. So Norman Webb has given this levels. He has given 4 levels of knowledge. So first level is recall, wherein you can recall the things. If somebody knows something, for example, there's a very basic thing that when Mahatma Gandhi was born, so you know that he was born on 2nd October 1869. He was born in Porbandar. His father's name, his mother's name. So these are the, basically you can recall. You know the facts. You can state it. You can repeat it. You can list it. So these are the things which comes in the level 1. Level 2 is a skill or the concept level. So you know the concept and you know its application also. So you can find out some little bit of cause and effect. You can infer certain things. So these are the things which comes into level 2. The third level, which is strategic thinking, which is very important. Here in this level, you not only know facts, you also apply concept, but you also know how to develop a logical argument of it, how to compare from other concept, how to critique about it, how to assess about it, how to revise about it. So if you start knowing all this, that is how that is the kind of a level uh, probably the interviewer expect in your answers. And the level 4th, which is extended thinking, that is a level where probably you augment a new knowledge. Probably out of 3-4 theories you make a new theory. So that is something which requires to make a this level might be required when somebody becomes very senior in bureaucracy, maybe the senior ministers or scientists. So that level is something which requires creation of new knowledge. So if I talk about these four concepts as I have discussed, level 1 is knowledge acquisition, level 2 is knowledge application, level 3 is knowledge analysis, and level 4 is knowledge augmentation. As I have said, that are full for civil servant, level 3, at least one should have a level 3. One should have a level of strategic thinking. If somebody has this level, one has to have this level in your interview answers. This level should be in your mains answers also, because many of the aspirant, what kind of mistake they commit, they generally in the mains answers also, they are at level 1 or level 2, which is, the concept and you stated, but you are not able to develop a logical argument out of it. The facts in prelims, and the in prelims also, most of the questions are now at this level 3. Some of the questions may be there at the level 1 or level 2, but UPSC tries to put most of the questions at level 3. So this is the kind of a level one should start developing in themselves. This is going to help you in mains exam, this is going to help you in interview, and this is how you should start thinking. So this was something brief about UPSC, and this video I wanted to give you the idea that how to approach about the exam. I have not discussed about any new knowledge or anything which any question or answer. What I have discussed about how you have to approach for the preparation of interview. For any help, I thank you very much. And for any help you require regarding the interview preparation, you can write me on interviewprepares@gmail.com. I'm surely, I'll definitely like to help any one of you who approaches me, and any kind of exam, whether it is the IAS exam, UPSC, PCS, or bank, or any kind of exam. If you have any questions or anything related to interview preparation, do reach me out, and